MATC Views.
Hello everyone, welcome to MATC Views. Today is our actually first episode of this series of MATC Views. I'm your host Victor, and yet I'm with two special guests of undergrads of MATC students of television and video production. Please introduce yourself.
You want me to go first? Okay. So my name is Max Martinson. I am a student here in the television and video production program at MATC. I've been in this industry, I guess, for about the last 6 years. My family ran a radio station in Baraboo, Wisconsin, and that kind of took off and transitioned into a career in television. I've always wanted to go into sports broadcasting. Sports have been my life pretty much since I was 3 years old, so that's pretty much why I'm here.
And you?
How can you top that? My name is Brannan. I have not been in the business that long. I started going to MATC to try to find a career, and I've just really enjoyed working with, learning more about creating digital media, creating television broadcasting, learning about video editing, which is what my favorite thing to do probably is. And according to other people here, I seem to be pretty good at it. So,
Okay, well, you kind of pretty much answered two of my questions I was going to give you, but so we could start the next one. How did you how did you progress? Really, being part of this television video, using that kind of college skills to progress your life skills that you are going to use future on basics. Let's say when you're developing or pre-planning a project, are you using that kind of the college skills to further on your production or self project or education? Really?
Well, I was homeschooled for my entire life until I started college. I did half a year of preschool, but I don't think that really counts for anything. But one of the things I've definitely learned through this program is time management, because being homeschooled, I got to work at my own pace whenever I wanted to. If I wanted to do, my classes at 2 a.m., there was nothing stopping me from doing that if I wanted to wait, because I usually had a schedule where I would do, throughout high school, I would do one subject per day so I retain the information better. So Monday would be math, so I do all 5 days worth of my math and take whatever test I have coming up, and then Tuesday would be whatever the next class is. Unfortunately, here in college, I can't really do that, so I've had to learn a completely different schedule, which I think most people would consider normal. And I think it's been good for me because it gets me out of bed earlier in the morning. It makes me actually have to get up and start doing things, especially with deadlines for projects and stuff. When it came to our Ops Day project, which was, for anybody who doesn't know, was a day on Milwaukee PBS where it was all student-ran productions all day, we had many different progression points in our project that we had to meet on different deadlines, and you had to keep up with those deadlines. So we had all of our stuff filmed super early, but we had to make sure that our editing process kept moving to make sure that we hit the deadline.
Right. So, being homeschooled was, how were you able to, hybrid that throughout, through work or just, your other job of, being in the other productions of, radio stacks and all that?
Being home, my schoolwork was fairly easy, but I'm a very fast learner. But my parents also taught me that there's a lot more to education than just what they teach you in school. So there would be days where we would maybe not necessarily be in our classroom per se, but we would go out and, if we were taking a day trip down to, I remember we went to Chicago and went to the Science Museum there, and that was considered a day of school for me, and that was even in high school. So while I did have classes, I still had to write essays, I still had to do, algebra, whatever, science. There was more learning opportunities for me than just what you were learning in the classroom, and especially through my family's business. We moved to Baraboo, Wisconsin when I was 13 years old, and I started working for the radio station literally the day that I was allowed, that I turned 14 and could technically get a worker's permit in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So I was working for the state, and I mean, I was working under the radar for the station regardless. But I mean, when it's a family business, you're kind of there all the time. But I personally think that it was nice for me to get the experience of working in the industry way before I even took a class here. And I'm not trying to say that I'm ahead of anybody.
No.
But I've had more experience than I think most people have coming into the program.
As you should. Let's see. What current trends do you see shaping the future with television and other part of it of that program, television and video? So what current trends do you see?
I think just as technology is evolving and we're getting more digital with everything, I talked to an alumnus who graduated from MATC back in like 2006, and he told me that when he was here, they didn't offer the digital content creation program here, and he said if they offer that, take it, because with how digital even television's getting nowadays, he's like, that will be such a valuable skill set to have both the TV and the digital content creation. I'm actually planning on taking an extra year here to get both degrees, one for TV production, one for digital content creation.
Well, and to add on to that, I think that in the last, 10 years ago, digital content and television production were two separate identities. 10 years ago was, 2014, so you were making content for early days of YouTube, early-ish days of...
Vine was a thing.
Yeah, exactly, like that kind of stuff. But I think nowadays, TV and digital content creation are really becoming one. You don't see... when you look at, for my example, major sports leagues, you see everything that they put on TV is over every social media platform that people have access to, whether that be Instagram, Twitter, what is now X, even like Snapchat, you'll see them posting highlights or whatever on stories. So 10 years ago, when you think of TV, it's, what you would see on broadcast. You'd be thinking of daytime television, you'd be thinking of late night shows, news, sports, stuff like that. But now, because people want content so rapidly, all of that content that they're putting on TV is almost more accessible online than it is to watch TV, especially with the prices of things like streaming services, cable television. When you can get that off of the internet, when you go on social media, even look at SNL for one example. They post every single one of their skits on YouTube now for the people who can't tune in at 10 on a Saturday night to watch their content. Now you'll see that all over Twitter, you'll see that all over Facebook. They'll put that anywhere they can possibly get it.
Right, and kind of adding to that was a lot of the television stuff now is basically you film it and you live stream it at the same time.
Yep.
Max and I had filmed a carnival a few weeks ago, or not carnival, parade.
Yep.
For in Baraboo, Wisconsin, and they were saying that it was actually being broadcast on TV, but it was also being live streamed on YouTube and Facebook.
Yep. So we also own TV 43 in Baraboo, which it's a low power TV station. We also own cable channel 10. So it was live on TV, but our main source of viewership was coming from our two live streams, both on YouTube and Facebook, where I think we had like 400 something concurrent viewers between the two platforms. But that's the thing. If you're from Baraboo or you know the area really well, because the TV station is only a low powered one, it only gets so far in the area. But there's circus people, because it was a circus parade. That's what Baraboo's known for. So there's people watching from Australia. There's people watching from all over the world. But even just in Wisconsin, if you're from where the Great Circus Parade started here in Milwaukee, you can't get TV 43 over here in Milwaukee. So where do you go for it? Straight to online. It's right there. Both being broadcast at the same place makes it way easier for anyone who's trying to watch.
And exactly, if people are people who are in the parade or people who are producing the parade, if they've got family in other places that can't watch this,
Exactly.
they can watch it online.
Or can't be there the day of, or, I mean, that day it was raining ridiculously hard, too, so not everyone's going to want to come out for a parade. And those people, and the thing about that is we get those viewers on our platform.
I see. So I kind of see the pros and the cons of being DCC and being on TV. So I would like to say, like, you know, merging into one, and then, like, you know, but what skills do you believe that are most important for students that are wanting to enter the TV and the DC program of MATC? Really?
I think the biggest one is the ability to take criticism, because while you may think that whatever you've done by yourself online, put on YouTube or whatever, is great and it's the best thing you've ever made, you will still face criticisms with it. Now, I have a little bit of background in this field, so when we were in TV 101, I wasn't like sweating it out like I think some other people were right when they first joined. Because I think there was a lot of people who were nervous, especially when they got on camera. Because, I mean, I remember when we were in TV 101, which is the first class you ever take here in the TV program, I remember a lot of people were really nervous whenever they had to be the talent for our rotations. For when we were practicing, there was just, and it's just basic stuff, like, you know, it was like basic interviews, like, you know, how was your day? What'd you have for breakfast? People, when they got in front of the camera, were super nervous and they locked up.
Anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I've been on camera before. It wasn't anything to me, but I think a lot of people got a little bit nervous. But whatever you've done in the past, now it may be good, but you have to expect criticism on whatever your work is. Not many people have written a script for TV. Not many people know that you have to incorporate all of these different positions. You have to make sure all your paperwork's in order. So whatever you've put on YouTube before, yes, it may be great content, but you still have to know that somebody is going to make a comment on your work that has been doing it for longer and knows more about it than you do.
I think the other thing really that I've learned with this whole experience is learning to push your comfort zones. Again, I'm not comfortable talking to people very much. So, but just like going out and going, hey, can we film you? And like all this stuff. I had that issue with the ops project, and just the instructors here, Dan Brown, Lauren Hill, they constantly push us to move past our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is how you're going to succeed if you pursue a career in this.
Yep.
Is you might not be comfortable talking to people. You might not be comfortable getting in front of a camera or editing. But, you know, just push past your comfort zones. Like, I remember in TV when I was in Max's TV 101 class, and when we did that interview project, he was talking about a lot of it was just, you know, camera one's facing this person, camera two is facing this person, or camera three is facing this person, camera two is a two shot in the middle. And everyone panicked when Max is like, oh, I'm going to try to get an over the shoulder shot for mine. Because Lauren's like, hey, that's what he wants to do it.
Yeah, and because for me, that wasn't like anything super crazy. It was just we had the cameras slide over a little bit during the middle of the interview, had them come back right at the end for or like start in the middle and then go out and then come back in for our outro. Really nothing too crazy, and everyone was like freaking out about it.
Lauren was super supportive of it. She's just like, hey, you heard him, camera three, truck right.
Yeah. But it was like, at that point, though, we had done that so many times where it was just the same thing over and over.
Same process, same.
Yeah,
like,
I wanted there to just be something a little bit different, so we weren't just doing the ready one, take one, ready three, take three, and it's the same questions over and over and over again, and it's just like, because now I understand that a lot of people are really good at learning by repetition, but there are some things that you do need to learn quickly as well.
Right.
I mean, you can't expect to just do basic stuff like that and progress your skill set or progress in this program.
Yeah, that's kind of what the instructors are trying to get us to understand, is to push ourselves to where we didn't think we could before, to put past our comfort zones.
Yeah, and with this only being a 2-year program, too, you are taking in a lot more information than you would in a regular 4-year program. Because I think UW Whitewater and like UW Milwaukee have like 4-year TV programs, but you are going to get the experience here of a full 4-year course in only 2 years, while also having the ability to put your content on, a national network. Because let's not pretend that, because you do work with Milwaukee PBS here. So, I mean, this is a national network. You will go, now, you might not make content that will ever be put on PBS all across the country, but your content will end up, if you take the TV program, it will end up on Milwaukee PBS at some point or another if you continue to progress in the program.
That's what I think I love about this program, is because you can go to any 4-year college and they'll teach you like the theory of how to do this, and you can walk out and say, I've got a degree. But with MATC, with how they work with Milwaukee PBS, especially if you're in the TV program, you get hands-on experience working with studio cameras, working on an actual video switcher, on the same ones that they use to broadcast their shows.
In your second semester.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Right now, you and me, Steven, we're both in our second going into our third semester of 4. And we were already in our second semester running cameras for the shows that they were putting on PBS. We were running cameras for like Black Nouveau and Arts Page and Adelante, 1036. Wow. We were doing all of that already. So I really don't think that there's another program that's going to give you an opportunity like this one does to get those skills as early as you do.
Absolutely.
So, based on education and learning, based on what the type of educational learning do you think is most beneficial on this field? Like, what do you think you'll mostly use it for? Like, the kind of training and education you use is most beneficial, basically.
Well, for me, like I mentioned earlier, I really want to go into sports broadcasting. I've been a sports fan ever since I've been 3 years old. My earliest memory is the 2007 NFC Championship with the Packers in it. But I think that some of the skills that you learn here maybe aren't going to be as beneficial for that field. But if you want to be somebody who works in, let's say, news, or if you want to be somebody who works in a studio like, for example, NBC, like in 30 Rock in New York. That would be the kind of things that you would learn here, at least from my experience so far in only 2 semesters. Now, I'm not saying that we aren't going to learn much, much more than that here coming up in the next year, because I have no idea. We haven't been through that program yet.
That's fair.
But I think that you'll learn basic production techniques that everybody in the industry knows. For example, you'll learn the language of TV. You'll learn you'll learn how all the paperwork works, which is a very important part. Most people overlook that. And I think one of the main things you'll learn is how to work with a team, because you can't make a production all by yourself when it comes to television. Now, again, for digital content creation, it's all you. You're the one recording it. You're the one editing it. You're the one doing all the special effects, graphics, whatever you want to put into your video. But in TV, it's more than just a one-man band. You have to work with everyone. You can't run all 3 cameras by yourself. You can't scroll the prompter by yourself. You can't do all of these things without other people helping you.
What I love about how the school does their program is in the first semester they basically show you, this is how you do this, and this. Like they'll teach you all the different like areas you'll work in with audio, CG, camera work, editing. If you take or it was called e-production, now it's digital content creation. But and then kind of second semester you start kind of figuring out where you want to go in that. Like my first semester here, I had no idea what I wanted to do, to be honest. I really enjoyed digital content creation. I was actually in the eProd program when I first started here. I have a gaming channel that I have neglected lately. Just with school, it's been so busy. But second semester we took a class called post-production. It was storytelling via post-production. It was an editing class.
Yep.
And that was arguably my favorite class I've taken here. And everyone told me how much of an eye for detail they had for that, and they're like, you should really get into video editing. And I'm like, I think I will. And I looked it up, and it looks like a very solid career path.
And there's a lot of different types of video editing too. I mean, you can do the basic field production for television, which is news stories and stuff. I mean, if you have to throw together a package, let's say a major news story breaks out today, you know, there's a, I don't know, building collapses a couple blocks away from here. You have to go over to that location, film it, and have it edited before the 6 o'clock news, which at the time of recording this is in 6 hours.
Yeah.
So if you want to edit rapidly like that, that can be something you go into. Yeah. If you want to go into more, you know, special effects, like, say, music videos for stuff like that, that's something you can go into. If you want to be somebody who does highlight reels for sports, you can be somebody who picks through every different play that happens in a football game, and this is really important, and let's put that in there. And then you can also make content, like you mentioned, like gaming for yourself, or, I mean, other content, like, you know, Mr. Beast. You can make content like that. Right. Now, I'm not saying everyone who takes this program is going to turn into Mr. Beast or is going to turn into somebody who is able to edit for the NFL, but there is also a lot of other opportunities with whatever editing style you prefer, at not necessarily a low level, but at a well-paying level, to a point where I think a lot of people would be satisfied. I don't necessarily want to go right away into the number one job in the United States for sports broadcasting. I'm not trying to be the person right away who's directing the NBA Finals. But if I can get a job, you know, say working for the Milwaukee Brewers as one of their stadium camera operators for the big screen, I will be satisfied with that coming out of college. Now, if you want to go into editing, the main thing that I would suggest is to edit everything you possibly can as much as you can. Yeah. The more you create, not only will you have more content that you can say, hey, I did this, look at this, if this is what a potential client is looking for, but you also improve your skills and get to a point where you can say, hey, this is way better than what I did last time.
Right, and we were kind of adding to that is the people here, both the people that work for Milwaukee PBS and the instructors here will kind of provide you with those opportunities or suggest, hey, you should try to do this. Like, we went, and last week we filmed the Juneteenth parade.
Yep.
Oh.
And for one of the PBS shows called Black Nouveau. And one of the guys came up to me and he basically asked me, he's like, what do you want to do after you get out of college? And I said, well, I'd like to be editing. I'd like to get into editing. And he said, editing what? I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
And he said, my advice for you is if you want to get experience in editing, take an internship at a news station because you're going to be editing constantly there.
I see that. So besides working with MPBS, were there like any online courses, extra online courses or workshop? Because I heard that TV does workshop and like MATC now, or resources would you recommend for students who can use that? So like any other classes that they should take if they participate in this program?
I mean, if you're really looking to learn something when it comes to digital content, I mean, YouTube Academy is where you're going to find everything. If you need to learn how to do one specific thing in Premiere that you thought of, or one specific, graphic that you can think of, you can find all that for free on YouTube. If you really want to know that stuff, just a simple search, you'll be able to find it. But you really can't get the same television production experience without being in that environment. You're never going to be able to find that online. I mean, there may be like some course that you have to pay $20 for, and they'll teach you all that stuff. But I think I would go, if you were going into TV, I would definitely go into the program rather than trying to learn it outside of the field, because you are never going to get the same feel of TV and broadcast in general without working in the field in some capacity. Now, again, like I said, if you're trying to learn, how to use this one specific tool on Premiere, there's a video for that. If you're trying to learn how to make, how to warp your text or whatever, I'm sure there's a video for that. But I think the only thing that you should be really looking out for is just YouTube for that.
I see. So based on education and learning, what are some usually common challenges that you have to face, and like, you know, how can you overcome them? Like, how do you stay motivated and able to handle that challenge or the creative barrier that is just like hitting you? Like, do you just like, you know, walk it off, or based on?
I found one of the biggest challenges, honestly, was especially first semester, was just being put in a group and trying to get everyone in your group on the same page. And even last semester when we were doing our ops projects, just making sure like everyone's like, okay, this is what you're doing. Like, you're talking to this client, you're going to be doing most of the editing, and just kind of assigning roles early is a way to avoid everyone getting confused. But just making sure everyone's on the same page is a really big challenge, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you've worked with me a little bit before. You've worked with me some. I'm fairly good at getting people on the same page because I don't like when everyone's not on the same page and doesn't know what's going on. I prefer to have everyone lined up, ready to go. You know, this is what we're doing. Let's do it. And that's one of the reasons why, for my career, I've decided to kind of shape it towards live directing. That's why I'm doing all the stuff for the parades. That's why I'm trying to get involved to be a director for Live at the Lakefront. But I think one of the things that you can do to overcome the creative barrier that you mentioned is just watch other people's content. I mean, you can, like, if you have an idea, if you have a topic you want to do, find somebody else's work that they have done on that and just get inspired by the work. Now, I'm not saying copy it, you know, frame for frame in whatever you're doing, right. But I mean, like for example, for our Ops Day show, we did a video on the Wauwatosa Curling Club and their 3-day tournament. So for inspiration on that and how I wanted to have that look for the final project, I was studying, like, you know, TSN and Sportsnet, two of the major sports networks in Canada, seeing how they edit together their curling highlights. So I took inspiration from them, and I was like, okay, well, they do this, this, and this. This is the shots that they show. And then that's how we edited our project. So we would have it. So they start on the one shot of the skip getting ready to throw the stone, and then they cut to the overhead, and then they cut to the camera that they have right on the ice. So I was studying the stuff that the major sports networks do, who have that following, to know, okay, this is how the pros do it. This is how I'm going to do it.
So based on, like, you know, the Wauwatosa Curling Club and parade that you guys did, the Juneteenth, networking connections. How important is networking in your program? Because, like, I see that you have to film outside, like, you know, sometimes of the, not just from MATC community, but also, like, you know, throughout the parade and the curling. What are some effects that you can find a way to connect with those people? Like, how important is networking really?
I mean, in this field, it's crucial, right? I think we can all agree, right, that it's crucial. You have to know people, right? Now, I know that sounds pretty simple, but especially in a program like this, you're going to be doing projects on people in the Milwaukee area. So, in my opinion, the best way to do that is send an email to anyone you think is interesting. If you send an email to 100 people and you get 3 responses, congratulations, that's
three more people than you knew before.
Yes, that's 3 more people that you knew before, and that's 3 potential projects or 3 potential segments or packages that you don't have to go out and find after that.
Right.
Now, and again, even if they say, you know, maybe not at this time, but, you know, I would love to work with you on this in the future. That's something you need to remember who those people are, because they have already said that they would be interested if the circumstances were different. Like, I remember, I work for the company Civic Media. It's a radio station, or it's a radio network here in Wisconsin. So I actually know a bunch of people who were, former graduates of the place, but 2, they're also radio hosts. And they have already told me that come when we start being the ones who are doing the MATC Now stuff, they would want to be hosts for MATC Now, which is a main thing you have to find. You have to go find people to be talent on your show. Right. Well, I have already a list of 4 or 5 people that have said, hey, yeah, I'd do it for a day. So, and I'm remembering those people, so when it comes time, I'm not, you know, oh my God, we need a host right now. Who are we going to get? I mean, I remember there was, 4 or 5 times last year where there was an instructor from the program who was one of our hosts for MATC Now. That will never happen in a professional broadcast station anywhere. You're never going to find, the head of the company being the host of SNL, right? You're never it's going to be it's going to be a comedian or, an artist or an actor or somebody like that.
I personally feel like networking has been where I struggle a little bit because unlike a lot of people that go to this school, I didn't grow up here. I was already an adult when I moved to this area, so I don't know a lot of people.
Neither do I.
But basically that was one thing that the instructors have especially been working with me on trying to overcome is basically okay, so you don't know people, get to know people.
Yes.
Go out, put your name out there, just say, hey, I'm a student at MATC, I'm working on this. For instance, I have a friend who's really getting into photography this summer, and I've gone with her a couple of times, and basically she's printed out business cards. She just goes out and gives them to people and is like, hey, I'm doing free photo shoots this summer. If you want to, here's my contact information.
Yeah,
and she's actually been really successful with it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, once you first start out, doing it for free is going to be a major factor for you because, let's be honest,
nobody wants to pay for anything.
People will pay for things, but it's the same as if you were to go to a doctor, right? You don't want the guy who just graduated med school and this is their first surgery, right? You want them to have experience and you want them to be able to prove their work. Right. That's the biggest thing in this field. You need to be able to say, yes, I can do this. Here's proof that I can.
Yeah.
Right?
We're kind of in that middle. We're kind of in that middle ground right now while we're at MATC, which I don't think a lot of schools offer as much, which is basically to get that experience that employers want. Again, going into this, we had no experience.
Yep.
And now we can say, oh yeah, I worked camera on the parade, or I edited a show that premiered on Milwaukee PBS.
Yeah, and that's the thing that that anyone who's taking this program needs to realize is that your work is valuable, but the first thing you ever do is not going to be,
easy.
It's not going to be easy, and
let's be honest, it's not going to be good.
It's not going to be good, and it's not going to be valuable, right? Again, it's using the doctor example, or for a restaurant, you're never going to go to the restaurant that has, that has one-star review on Google, right? You're going to go to the one who has a 4.6 out of 900.
Right.
That seems like a way better choice than the place that just opened up, and you're like, should we try it? Should we not? Nobody really goes for that.
And that's one thing the instructors do here is basically they know that your first project's not going to be great. They tell you that when they give you the assignment, and they basically keep all the projects that we've done throughout on the school's lab computer. And so I think you were with me when we did this. Was the end of last semester, we all just went through and we went back and watched our old projects from TV 101, and we're like, wow, this is bad.
Yeah. Right. And we just I remember that we just wow, we just became so much basic, but now let's see how much we progress, right?
And and that's just from one semester to the next.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing
we still got 2 more semesters left.
Yeah, and the thing is, but that's what you have to realize. If you can go back and say, oh my God, this was bad, that means you have progressed. If you know that this was bad when that was what you were doing literally, 4 months ago, whenever you did that project, if you can say, wow, this was terrible, that's a good thing. You don't want your first thing that you ever do to be the best. That means you're not progressing, and that means you're not learning anything.
Right. You just give yourself a downfall for it. Yeah. So just from personal insight from instructors and all that, what is the best advice that you ever received regarding from your career, really? Just from life, personal insights.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that I've gotten it from an instructor here, but I've worked with plenty of professionals in the field of broadcasting. Now, a lot of that has been through radio, but there has been some television involved with that as well. And one of the best things that I think I've ever learned is you have to understand that not everybody is going to not everybody is going to think the same as you. They're not going to have the same ideas as you. They're not going to have the same vision that you have, and they're not always going to be on the same page as you. And when you're working in a program like this, you have to take other people's ideas into account. You're not going to be able to just do one thing and be like, okay, this is what we're doing now. If you're working on a project by yourself, or you're the main producer for it, say you're doing a, MATC Now show, this is what I want, then yes, you can make those decisions, but you have to be able to take in other people's input.
And as far as advice that I think I've gotten, the instructors are really good about basically making sure that that it's okay to make a mistake. That they don't expect perfection of you at this level.
Yep.
Again, they're your harshest critics as far as like your projects, but it's only because they know that if you make this mistake and they point it out, you won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, it's better to make a mistake where you'll get 2 points off of your grade than in 2 years and get fired.
Yeah.
I would much rather have, my A get downgraded to a B+ than, make the same mistake when it really matters and then I'm out of a job.
That was one thing that, again, Dan Brown, one of the instructors here, he pulled me aside in his office one day and he basically said, you are too hard on yourself. You are way too hard on yourself. Again, every tiny mistake that you make, we've seen you beat yourself up so badly about, and you do not want to do that, because they're basically they're there to remind you that you're a student, you're not the producer yet. So
Yep.
It's you're gonna make mistakes. You're here to learn from those mistakes. And he said, one thing that you always have to remember is that don't be too hard on yourself and that your work is valuable.
So just by looking ahead, because we're almost almost out of time a little bit, 10 minutes short, but what are some upcoming projects that you are excited about attending the third semester of being TV students?
I'm extremely excited for all the shows we get to do next year. I don't know about you guys, but I've been ready for that since we finished our first semester. Because I've had a lot of ideas that I haven't gotten to do because we've been kind of confided by the projects that we have to do, like news stories and everything else.
So many interviews.
Right.
so many
interviews. Right.
Yeah, so many basic things. But I'm also excited to be given the freedom of working by myself this next year. Now, I'm not saying I don't enjoy working with other people, but I don't like I was saying earlier, yes, you do have to learn how to work with other people, but in my opinion, for me, I prefer to be the one to make all of the decisions.
Right.
And I also am fine with taking the criticisms on them and taking the fall for whatever it is. I mean, if I'm doing something by myself and it sucks, I will take that. That's on me. But I'm excited for our workshop shows. I'm extremely excited to do MATC Nows. I'm extremely excited for Ops Day next year, especially after the stuff that happened this year. But I think that for the live block, I'm excited for all of that. Now that's 4 semester stuff, but I'm already thinking ahead to all of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking ahead too.
Yeah, I'm past all the stuff that we did this year in our first and second semester. But honestly, I was past that before I even joined the program, because I saw the stuff that they did for MATC Now on YouTube and stuff, and I was ready to do that immediately.
I'm excited. Honestly, I'm more of excited to see what kind of opportunities arise because again, as we're doing these, I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing more co-ops.
Yep.
Again, we're taking some co-ops this summer. For mine, I'm making a promotional video for a theater company that they're premiering at their fundraising gala on Sunday. And just, again, that's one thing that you can say is hey, you can put this on your demo reel and say, yeah, this is my proof that I can do this job.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, that's one of the most important parts. And I think that a lot of people will see their work and think that it's not good enough to be put on, say, a demo reel. And again, it may not be. Your first project that you do may not be, the best thing that you've ever done. But you also have to be, like you were talking about, you have to be excited for the opportunities that will come to you as you gain more experience.
Right.
Not everybody is like me and has been doing this for the last however many years. I get that. I'm very fortunate. But the people who haven't need to understand that opportunities will come to you. And if you are learning how the instructors and how everything is set up here, how they want you to, when those opportunities come, even if you don't feel like it, you will be ready for it.
Yeah, like I'm excited for basically how, like, the new skills that we're going to learn in these next 2 semesters and how we can apply them to what we already know now. Like, I know one of the classes next semester is going to be another editing class, but we're going to be working with a new program called Avid. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see the differences, how that works, and just seeing, not to sound cheesy or corny, but just see how high we can fly. It's like just trying to, just excited to learn our skills so that we can see what our potential that we may not even know is yet.
Yeah, and I mean, there may come a time when you don't understand something, right? I mean, not everyone might understand Avid right away. Now, I'm not saying that anyone won't. I'm not saying that people won't. I'm not saying our whole class might be the best Avid editors that have ever existed. But you also need to realize that if you don't understand it all right away,
right,
it's not the end of the world. We're not expecting you to master it in a week. Right. We're not expecting you to be able to know absolutely everything there is, every tool, every different effect, everything within, the first time you open the program.
Right. So as we are now ending this episode, if you can collab with any creator or any producer, who would it be and like why? Unless you're like Max, like you say, you're a self-alone creator. But if you were able to collab with anyone, who would it be?
I don't exactly know their name, but whoever the producer this past year of Sunday Night Football was, made some really cool things for their broadcast. I mean, I remember they were doing the new stuff with AWS where they would track all the stats in real time, and there would be they would there would be the stuff on the secondary broadcast where it would be maybe it was Thursday Night Football. It might have been that. But whoever's doing that, I mean, they've done some really cool stuff over there with, using AI, all the analytics that are in the game now,
right.
And some of the graphics and stuff that they pull up are ridiculously cool.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Transition and all that.
Yeah, I mean, and it all flows together so nicely. You're never you'll see here, we'll have a camera on nothing once in a while. There's never any of that there. So whoever's doing the stuff at Thursday Night Football for Amazon this year, they knocked it out of the park completely when they took it over this past year. So
for me, I think, again, it's not really one specific collaborator. It's just I would like to collaborate with, I guess it's just people who do more arts videos that kind of make you feel something almost. Like they tell a story visually with the way they shoot, the way they edit. So yeah,
artistic
creators, exactly. Yeah, if you can create a video and make someone feel something off of that, then I think you definitely have something.
That's nice to hear. Well, that is time of MATC Views of this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, whatever you do on YouTube. But I'm your host, Victor, and these are our lovely undergrad students of television and video production, Max and Steven. Thank you for watching.
MATC Views.